who went before, many people who never were allowed the dignity of a nation and identity, people who history has forgotten. It is about giving them back their dignity to a certain extent. It's about giving them a right to a personhood and to an identity. It's about celebration. It's about celebration of Black achievement. It's about looking forward. It's about looking forward to what this group in America can continue to add to the definition of being American. So, my perspective.
I also agree with you, Professor. I feel like Black History Month is a time to where we celebrate being an African American or just being African in general. All the things that have been done, all the things that the achievements that they have made for us. I feel like this is time for us to celebrate. Also, I feel it's a time to be aware of the things and the issues that happen around America that are targeted towards that demographic. I think that's a time where we should look at those things and double think and rethink and see how we can change them and make them better.
Sounds wonderful. Does the audience have anything to comment? Any questions? Question 2. How do you feel you represent the Black community, and how do you feel the Black community represents yourself?
Being African American man, being an African American man, I feel that the way I represent being Black is being Black. I walk around, I stand, I talk, I make sure my voice is heard, and I achieve in different educational things, such as working on getting my MBA. I don't let people stereotype me and put me in a box. I express who I am, and that's the way I do it. The way that I think other people perceive things is a little bit rough. It's tough. You put stereotypes on people, and it's wrong. And I feel like that's how kind of America perceives being Black.
He's refusing to be invisible.
Very true.
Question 3. After every questions, I'm going to leave it to the audience afterward if they have a comment to what the panel has said. Okay? Do you believe that there is racial harmony in the United States, or do you believe that racism is still a big factor in the American culture?
Well, Leroy just said it's important not to stereotype. So that's an either-or question that I think has nuances. Is racism still a problem in America? Absolutely. Is there racial harmony in America? Yes, in some segments. I'd like to think here on campus there is. Or it's in process, and this is a good example. But I'm always surprised as a professor when I teach certain seminal texts or authors, it happened again this week, that I know have been covered in high schools. And the majority of my students of all colors have never heard of the text. So there's something going on, even on the institutional level, that is still segregating by color, by sex, by sexual preferences, what we're learning. And education, if you look at all of our heroes of Black History Month, education is key. And if we're not getting it on the lower levels in the public schools, and we have to wait until college, we need to understand not everybody has the opportunity for college. So how are we going to address these issues if we don't bring them to light in our public institutions?
I think it's very important not to give in to easy answers. It's very important to always be aware of history, be aware of where we are, be aware of where we're going. And it's an easy answer to say or pretend that everything is okay. Everything is not okay. It's much better than what it used to be. but we're not where we're going yet. It's a journey, and we are simply at a step along the way, and the responsible thing to do is look towards making progress, look towards identifying problems where they exist, and looking for ways to address them.
What would you do if you ever come across racism?
Is that a question for me or just for them?
In general?
I've come across it. That's the reality of the situation. I've come across it on a personal level. I've come across it. I've seen other people. The first time I was faced with it was in a relatively innocuous situation. It wasn't anything where I felt personally threatened, but I felt like my voice had been taken away at that point. I felt like I didn't know how to react to it. And it was, and I'm from, I have this in common with Jasmine, my co-panelist. I come from another country with strong Black history to it, but a different Black history than this country. So being someone who is a person of color in this country is an experience that means that I have to understand the history of this country as well as my personal history too. And so I felt like at that point, I'd like to say that I was the person who confronted the problem at that point and said, you will not treat me this way, but I felt like I had no voice at that point. And sometimes that's the reality of it, and I learned from that, and I learned that was a moment that helped me shape and stand up for myself.
So,
Yeah.
so as a person, and this is responsive, as a person who contributes to the institutions, public institutions, how do you take the advantage that you have and educate others on things such as segregating when it comes down to education versus race, gender, and other?
Well, first of all, I walk my walk and try and be an example, hopefully a beacon. And as Dr. Munil says, it comes in different, it hits you in different ways, and sometimes the reality is you don't respond the way you want to because you're shocked, right? But the older and more wiser I get, I hope, I've started to speak out a little more, even when it's with somebody I care for deeply, and they shock me. I stop the conversation and say, wait a minute. What did you mean by that? Are you aware of that? It's uncomfortable, but the people that I emulate and that I teach are all about agitation and a little bit being a little bit uncomfortable. I would like to reach out to the public schools a little bit more. I would like to do a professor day where some favorite professors go in and teach there. That would be amazing. But I keep my radar up, and I make sure from the very first moment I stepped on this campus as an adjunct faculty member who only was hired to teach that semester, I made sure my syllabus coverage was not all white. It was not all male. It's not all Black either. There are Native American pieces we need. There are Asian American pieces we need. There are lesbian, homosexual pieces we need to interrogate and investigate. So my little piece of the world as an educator is to celebrate the diversity in my classrooms and hopefully and speak up a little more courageously in public.
This is for anyone who has went to a predominantly white institution. How did that school or institution celebrate Black History Month? And how was it different or the same as Aver University? And do you believe HBCUs represent the Black community?
I graduated with my undergrad at Methodist University, school very close to this one, very small, PWI. And the way we did Black History Month is it was more based on the students. We did have a BSU who wasn't really active, so they didn't know how to approach those kind of situations. When I was actually an RA, That's what I did my bulletin board on. I did a bulletin board on Black History Month. And I invited my residents, who was a very small population, probably about 30 guys, and I informed them of Black History Month and the different kind of information that they could, and the things that they can go and learn about Black History Month. When it comes down to administration and others, it was more of, what do you want to do? How can we not help you do it? And it was more of backlash. You can't do that, or how is this group going to feel, or all those questions was brought up when we tried to do something. And it's kind of tough when you don't have that backbone or that help to do anything. It kind of makes you not want to do anything. But we did what we could do. We talked when we could talk, we grouped up when we could group up. Me and one of my co-RAs, we sat and we had a discussion on the flag. And we talked about the flag, had about 60 guys come out, black, white, Indian, all types. So that's kind of how we did it. We spoke when we could speak, and we made sure that when we did speak, it was heard.
So from my college days to my graduate school days are two very different experiences, and this is gonna be a little bit different than you expect it to be, because I went to an HBCU, historically black college university, for my undergraduate degree. I went to Morehouse College, the alma mater of Dr. King, and I went to Emory University, also in Atlanta, for my graduate degrees. I don't remember Black History Month being necessarily a thing in my undergraduate days, because it was Black history. You were surrounded by Black history. That was the experience of it. Those were constant discussions that were happening year round. So I don't necessarily, there may have been, for all I know, but because it was such a natural part of the fabric of the school, that was what I grew up in as far as my first years in this country. And then I went to Emory University, where I have much more vivid memories of the programming during Black History Month, because it was during that month that the programming happened. So
I got my master's in the UNC system. I was at a school of over 12,000 students. We had an Office of Diversity and Inclusion with a staff and an associate provost, called a Chief Diversity Officer, a CDO. It would be my dream to have one diversity professional at Everett at some point. And so the programming kind of was filtered through there, but that's problematic. It's like Grandma told us, the grass is always greener. Having a specified department does not always translate into effective programming and clear-cut strategic planning. And I found, believe it or not, there was too many meetings and too much talking, and not enough substantive visibility and cultural care involved. And I'll just share one thing for you to think about. I am a mixed multicultural woman. I self-identify actually as Hawaiian and Puerto Rican, French, Native American. So I was tokenized very quickly to represent that piece of the pie. And that piece of the pie is small when you look at the other pieces that fill up that chart. And I can remember being in a meeting with one of the vice presidents of the university and the person in charge of demographics and numbers. And as she was explaining this pie chart, she says, and then there's this, and there's not enough of them, so it's inconsequential. And then went flying into her data. My son was a student at that university at the time, and I was a graduate student at that university, and I was on staff in a vice president's office. And I raised my hand and I said, excuse me, did you just say inconsequential? Because you just called me and my son inconsequential. Oh, no, that's not what I meant. And this is from the highest levels of diversity professionals. It's not always what it's cracked up to be. I think it still needs to be grassroots. So hats off to the BSU, brother for brother, sister for sister, and anything else we can get going here. It's all about raising awareness. I don't think we need to be in a meeting room planning what is acceptable, appropriate, insensitive, sensitive. That's fine. We'll have those conversations, but in the end of the day, right, Isaiah? We got to do something. And don't ever call anybody inconsequential.
And you spoke of going to HBCU and Black History Month not being highlighted because it was part of the history you were taught basically.
Well, so I wouldn't say it wasn't highlighted. I'm saying that I don't remember it as being a part of my experience because it was a part of my, it was always a part of the experience. So it's the month itself does not stand out.
And when you went to PWI, it stood out more to you?
At Emory, where I went, yes. So I remember there being events by the African American Studies program or by different groups on campus, particularly during Black History. I remember films that are being shown and thematic theme days and stuff like that during Black History Month at that point too. And I'm not saying that suggests one thing or the other needs to be done. That's a one person's experience of being in both of those places.
So my question is to the whole panel, and to everyone in the room, just is that the problem? Is that we use it to educate rather than making it part of the American history, which that it is. We get to why do we have to highlight just 1 month? Because if we're being diverse and thoughtful of all cultures, then that what we're learning in February, we should learn in January, March, April, and throughout the whole year. And if we're being diverse and inclusive together, then there's no reason to have a Black History Month. And just want to ask, do anyone have any comments on what I just said?
I'd like to say that every month is White History Month. It's just the way that textbooks have been written. It's the way that curriculum is in schools. As a father figure, I'm seeing that now in textbooks in Virginia history that there's, the children are learning now. There's a page on slavery. That's it. The rest is white history, right? So there needs to be some awareness, some celebration, some acknowledgement. And this is a step, and it creates conversation, which allows for further dilution of white history and more influence of Black history and all cultures.
So just to respond back, and thank you, Kyle, that was a great response, and it just helped me get deeper into what I was trying to state. And if this helps highlight that, this Black History Month doesn't solve that problem if we become comfortable with just having Black History Month, because white history will still be the system will continue to cycle, and it would just be that one page all the time because we have that 1 month. So my question is, do anyone have any comments on how we can move forward from just having that one page and that 1 month in our books and not having it all through the books?
I would say this, talking about the institution that I came from, at the university, you heard me say that the administrators weren't really backing up the BSU. As of now, we have about 3 or 4 Divine Nine groups on our campus. Education and people stepping up, willing to do the work and put that time in, I feel like Black history could be all year round. It could be taught 24/7, 7 days a week, just like everything else. And I feel like it takes people to take that effort and put in that time and put in that work. We can't want change if we're not willing to create it. And I feel like that's what needs to be done if that's what we want.
Plug for the minor.
Exactly.
And this I'm going to use a word that you used just now, and Professor Gazda used it a little bit earlier too, comfort, right? One of the things, students who've taken my class, there are a couple of you guys in here, one of the things I say to my students is that discomfort is where knowledge comes from. When you're in a room, when you're in a college classroom, when you're in any college classroom, it's because you're uncomfortable. It's because you're uncomfortable with where you are right now and you want to get somewhere else. Comfort can lead to stagnation. Comfort is fine for a minute, but discomfort is where knowledge comes from. And so being uncomfortable with where things are right now and looking for how you can make it better that's the human condition, right? That's regardless of race, that's the human condition. And for this particular issue, embracing that discomfort and finding a way to move forward from it, using that as a motivation, that's an important thing.
NPR a couple of weeks ago released an article about why true history of slavery is not being taught in primary school, so kindergarten through 5th and as well as 6th through 8th. And the main reason that people did not want to discuss, or teachers did not want to discuss the history of slavery, was because it made them uncomfortable. White teachers did not know how to teach black students about their harsh history because they could not relate to those students. So I think the key thing is we have to keep talking about this and understand that yes, it does get ugly and messy, but that's how we educate one another.
That's why they don't like to teach on very thin, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to add on to what Jillian said is, I recall being in middle school and high school when we would have a Black History project, and the teacher would say, as soon as someone else would say, "Oh, I don't want to do this," well, you can do your project on the president. Why? Why would that be allowed? If the assignment is to do a Black History project, why would you be allowed to do yours on the president because you don't want to do Black history? And as a teacher, why would you allow that? If we have to learn about all white history, why don't the students have to learn about Black history? So as professors, if you all were to do an assignment like that and you had a student say, "I don't want to do a Black history project," how would you handle the situation?
And just to play on what Ms. Sierra said, that's what I don't understand. We can talk about the Holocaust. I know fun facts. I've went to museums on the Holocaust. I've watched books. I've read a book called Night. I've had representatives from the Holocaust, like Holocaust survivors, come speak to me in high school, in college, and I see all of this and I'm thinking, why can we talk about this all day long, but why can't we talk about how it was to be a slave or how it is to be me when I wake up, when I go to school? Like, they don't want to talk about it because it's difficult. And it's not just white people that don't want to talk about it. I've seen, and I know personally, Black people that don't want to talk about it. And I'm from the North. When I came here, freshman year, nobody wanted to talk about it. Everybody from the South when I was here my freshman year, did not want to talk about it. I was in Ms. Gazda's class, and we were discussing the flag. We were discussing the Confederate flag. And there was a Caucasian individual that raised his hand, and he said, "I don't understand why I have to waste my time and sit and talk about something that you guys are upset about when my ancestors fought in the Civil War as well." And I asked him, well, since you want to honor your heritage, why can't I honor mine? You know, it's just a little, it's unfair and confusing.
Thank you so much. That's going to be the end of our first panel. If there's any more questions or comments, please let us know. Yes.
I just want to just kind of reiterate what Professor Gazda said. You know, I've been here 8 years, and since I've been here, you know, of course I've seen, you know, many different students come and go, and had the opportunity to work with Professor Gazda many times to begin something like what you all are doing tonight. And unfortunately, it just never stuck with our community. And so I just really want to applaud BSU and Brother for Brother and our graduate assistants that are working, because this truly is just a product of you all taking a stand and that grassroots.